Welcome to the Main Street Moments podcast. I'm Brian.
This is Kathy.
All right, so WDW News Today, which is a Disney YouTube channel that everyone knows about. They also have a website. They have all the daily Disney news. I watch their YouTube channel every time they put up a new news video. I go to their website all the time. And the face of the channel is Tom. And it's a big group. This is a big to-do. They don't just have a Disney YouTube channel. They've got an equivalent for Universal News. And everybody is familiar with them. And they did a podcast on their YouTube channel this week that was pretty epic. And they uploaded this episode a few days before it went live. It was a premiere. Mm-hmm. And I was waiting for this one. And here is the title of it. The WDW News Today podcast, episode 2. Tom and Eric do this podcast. It's a new thing they've started. And then here's the subtitle. Thoughts on other Disney blogs and influencers. And when I saw that, it was coming up in a couple of days, I was very excited and I couldn't wait for the episode. And I was shocked at the things that I heard from this. Now, I'll say this in advance. I'm going to play you some audio sound bites from the episode, guys. Okay, I went through the episode. It's an hour and 40-something minutes long. It's longer than the Little Mermaid cartoon. Okay, about the same length. And I went through the whole thing. I watched it, and then I went back through it today and grabbed some audio sound bites of Tom and Eric.
It was funny because I watched it with you. It was a good podcast.
Oh, my goodness.
They kind of start out a little, treading lightly.
Oh, yeah.
On the topic. And I knew that they would eventually really get into it because once those floodgates are open, boom. And then after a few minutes maybe 10, 15 minutes in, they really let loose.
Yeah. Now, the sound bites, I'm going to play them for the most part. I think they're all in the order that they were on the episode. Okay. Mm-hmm. So Tom and Eric, and then they had a third person there who covers Tokyo Disney for them, but she didn't talk too much. So it's primarily Tom, who's the face of the channel, and Eric. And this is what I would say. This is the first truly inside look into the world of Disney YouTubers and influencers. One we've never gotten before.
Yeah, we're not in that world.
No.
We're not in that world. We just talk about it, but we don't live there. We're not like this is people that are in that world, people mainly that live there that vlog this full time or do TikToks or Instagram full time that live near Disney. I think that's really who he's dealing with because that's what they do. And we're more like outsiders, kind of like you guys watching and just kind of commenting on
not
things.
Only are we not in the world.
No, we're not.
Apparently that world does not want any new members and would like to expel some of the members of that world out of it. So let me get to this. Now, the first clip here is not about the vloggers. It's about themselves where there's a little self-importance that comes out. But I thought this was kind of fun. This is the whole crew, Tom and Eric and the girl. They're talking about the power that WDW News Today has in their opinion. They're not joking. Listen.
Would you consider yourself an influencer, Tom?
I'd like to not.
Yeah, you are though.
No, don't do this to me.
Hey, you are the Tom Chorus from WDW.
That doesn't make you an influencer, though. Like, newscasters have been famous, right? That doesn't make them influent. They're not news influencers.
I mean, he got the power to change Disney.
Okay, you have the power to change Disney. So I imagine Bob Chapek or Bob Iger coming across WDW News Today and they hear Tom report on something, and then all of a sudden, Bob Iger says, well, I heard Tom and we got to change this.
I don't think
we just got to change this.
I don't think Disney gives a damn about what vloggers or news people think at all, no matter how many. I don't think they care what Tim Tracker thinks or Adam the Woo or anybody. They use those people to help promote their brand, but they don't make changes based on what these people report or say. I highly doubt that.
The next clips,
but she thinks though they do apparently.
The next clips are going to be them talking about other YouTube channels and influencers. So we're going to get to that in a minute. But so far as what Disney thinks about YouTubers, TikTokers, Instagrams, and there's other platforms too. I just tell you this, guys, quickly. When Epcot Center opened in '82, satellite television was a new thing. Okay, there was not a lot of people that were in the news business did not have satellites available, local news. The big networks did, but local news didn't. And Disney hired satellite trucks and gave local news around the country access to do satellite broadcasts from the opening of Epcot Center in 1982. And local news people came from all over the country and did live broadcast for the opening of Epcot because they had access to the satellite truck. So Disney has always used whoever the influencers were of the day to get as much free publicity as they could possibly get. So they do like, obviously, the free publicity they get from all the different influencers, I think, but they don't care about their opinions, I don't think,
and I don't think they care about the opinions of the guests either. So
that's true.
I'm not saying that anything bad against vloggers or influencers, but they clearly don't care about what guests think as well.
Now, this next clip, this is Tom pretending not to know about Florida resident edits.
Yes, we all know who that
is. And we don't know who Florida resident edits is.
No, we know the channel, right, but we know the channel.
Everyone knows the channel, and it's a pretty funny channel. And Florida resident edits, well, let me play the clip of Tom.
We have our theories.
And Eric, and then we'll talk about Florida resident edits, which I am a subscriber of Florida resident edits. In fact, I was probably one of the first 10 subs to Florida resident edits. When I first saw that, Florida resident edits, I'll just tell you the background for those that don't know. I think everybody knows about Florida resident edits, but not everyone wants to sub to them for some reason.
Or admit they know.
Yeah, and whoever you are, when I say that I think I was one of the first 10 subs, I really do believe that, Florida resident edits.
Gee, I wonder why you were drawn to that channel.
Oh, because it was hilarious. Yeah. And it still is. Florida resident edits, they got their name from when Michael K moved to Orlando with Dave K. They had this big epic thing that they were Florida residents now. And we were talking about this on our channel at the time. And I said, Michael K and Dave K think they're Ponce de Leon and have discovered Florida or something. Exactly. We're all Florida residents and all of this.
I've been a Florida resident since birth.
And when Michael K moved to Florida, he overdosed on Disney.
It was like crack.
Yeah, he was like on this Disney bender and
sugar bender.
And he just got really weird. And Florida Resident Edits is a YouTube channel that originally was about Michael K and Dave K. It's expanded. And I got to tell you, their opening that they have on Florida Resident Edits, it's been the same opening for a long time. It cracks me up so much.
Every time you laugh your butt off.
My favorite two parts of the opening credits of Florida Resident Edits is when they have music and Molly's arm does like a chicken thing to the beat of the music.
Yeah.
And then there's a clip of Michael K at the end that you guys will have to watch. But I don't, because
he says fantastic.
Well, I'm not going to imitate Michael K the way he says it, but it's hilarious. So everyone
it's a good opening.
Everyone, especially YouTubers that are at Disney, they all know Florida Resident Edits. But Tom, for a moment, wants you to think that he doesn't. So here, this is Tom
full of it.
And Eric talking about Florida Resident Edits.
I can only talk so much about what other people do other than what,
Now, keep in mind, this is a 1 hour and 43-minute podcast episode where they did nothing but talk about what other people do.
He can only talk so much, like almost 2 hours.
And this was in the first couple of minutes of the podcast where this clip came from.
I can only talk so much about what other people do other than what, people in our audience tell us, because I don't watch what other people do. I barely have time to watch what we do. But I've seen enough, whether, in passing or that people have sent me a link to on YouTube or whatever, to see that there's a problem, right? So I think one video that particularly comes to mind, somebody at one of our, I think it was at our 16th anniversary event, one of the WIGS members talked about, what is it, Central Florida Edits, or what is it, Florida Resident Edits? Or?
Florida Resident Edits.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, does anyone believe that Tom does not know that it's Florida Resident Edits?
He's really coming across that he's above everybody else, and that's a continuing theme in the show. He's a journalist, like Tom Brokaw. He even compares himself to national journalists at that level eventually.
Yeah.
And he doesn't watch this stuff. He watches his own content.
He's above all that.
I don't watch my own content. I don't even listen to the podcast after we put it up. I watch other people. Well, you do, but I don't. I watch other people. I'm not afraid to admit it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think you can. But I got the feeling that he likes to make himself out to be a journalist.
Yeah.
I think he said he has a degree in journalism, and everybody else is just a wannabe.
Yeah.
And he's full of crap that he doesn't watch, because if you listen to this show, he watches everybody because he knows everything about them. He's full of it.
You know what it's like? It reminds me a lot of Plankton on SpongeBob.
I went to college.
That's right. I went to college. That's right.
So did I.
That's right. Florida resident. All right. So anyway, back to this, because hold on.
YouTube or whatever, to see that there's a problem, right? So I think one video that particularly comes to mind, somebody at one of our, I think it was at our 16th anniversary event, one of the WIGS members talked about, what is it, Central Florida Edits, or what is it, Florida Resident Edits? Or?
Florida Resident Edits.
Yeah.
It's a YouTube channel, Nana, if you haven't seen it. It's kind of mean, but it's also kind of funny. They take little bits and pieces of kind of well-known vloggers around the area, and they make fun of them, right?
So
zoom in. No, it's these are generally more on the influencer side.
Yeah, and there are some episodes that are, I've seen a couple, and some of them are just mean. But there was one that I watched that it wasn't trying to be mean. It was more kind of angry. It was angry that it kept showing in the course of just watching one person's vlog, all the times that you could see other people, like guests in the background, either annoyed or bothered by what they were doing, right?
Okay, now that one, I remember that video by Florida Resident Edits.
Who was filming that was annoying people?
That part I can't remember. So if you remember, let us know in the comments. But what I do remember are the guest reactions. And whoever the YouTuber was, I wish I could remember, but I just can't remember which one it was.
There's only a handful he really makes fun of.
Michael K.
Well, that's his top guy.
Kyle,
Tim Tracker,
Palo,
Jen. He does not like Jen, but not a lot of people do.
Yeah, but anyway,
Kyle. These are all people that are easy to make fun of.
On this particular video that Florida Resident Edits did, and again, if you remember which YouTuber it was about, put it in the comments. But I remember the guest reactions, and they zoomed in when the person was vlogging on the guest in the background. Oh. And some of the looks on their faces were annoyance or what's going on.
Yeah, a lot of guests don't like it. They're right about that. They don't. And
I'll tell you, that video in particular has changed the way that I vlog. Now, I don't vlog at the parks too much, but I'm going back on Saturday, but I haven't been to the parks in months. But that video that he's referencing there, it changed the way I vlog, and I do things a little differently because
I like live streamers, but I watch Josh and Ron on the Go mainly, and I watch a few other ones.
Resort TV 1 is Josh.
Yeah, Resort TV 1, but that's the main one I watch. And then I watch Ron on the Go sometimes and a few others. But the one thing I don't like, and I don't think they do this on purpose, but when they're in line and they're waiting in the queue and their camera is on the people.
Live streamers,
I don't like that. I feel like it's a little intrusive, and I think they should put the camera on themselves or show the queue, like
the floor,
or maybe not the floor, but the walls or the ceiling, something. I don't like when they just have the camera out and they're in line for an hour or 2 hours sometimes, and you could see the people in front of them looking like a little like what's going on or a little uncomfortable.
You know what? It's not just
I think that's a little intrusive.
You can hear sometimes we're watching Resort TV 1, and you'll hear a whole family's conversation for 20, 30 minutes, however long they're in the line. And
they might not even know it's being broadcast live,
and who knows what they're talking about.
And Josh and them get a lot of views.
Yeah,
so
it's intrusive.
And I don't think Josh and they're great, and I don't think they mean anything by that at all. And I'm sure they're thinking it's a public place, and I understand that
it's semi-public. It's a private. a park is public. The dog park is public. Okay, Disney is it's private property that's open to the public. There's a difference.
Yeah, so I think that you need to be a little more aware of of what's going on around in that regard, and they might argue, well, we are, and we really try to be aware of that, and maybe they do, and that's good. But
I have seen Ron on the Go, and I think Ron on the Go is more aware of this. I have seen him many times when he's in a line. He'll have his camera to the side towards the wall. I've seen him do that many times, or towards bushes or something like that. I've seen that
I think that's what they need to do.
Yeah. All right. So let's get back to this. So this episode they did was very revealing. Okay. Here's the next clip. They were answering questions that were submitted to them by viewers to their YouTube channel on WDW News Today. And this question that they're responding to is: are the vloggers ruining it for everyone? Right? Because
at the parks,
yeah.
Sherry said, do you think that some bloggers are ruining it for guests? Example, talking over rides, cameras on rides, and showing others on rides.
Yeah.
That's tough. Yeah.
God. Well, a lot of people would agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, there's no getting around that. I mean, he just said, yeah. WDW News Today, I don't know if I've seen them vlog at the park too much. They do restaurant reviews, and I've seen them like at a restaurant or at one of the tables during one of the
I will say this,
festivals.
I don't like their channel. I don't watch it too much. I find it terminally boring.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I prefer Mickey Views for my news. I don't like WDWNT too much, but I just think it's boring. Their crew, their cast of motley crew of people, I think are annoying. But I will say this was good. This podcast was very good, very revealing, and his partner, Eric, I like him. He's very good. And Tom was very open here, which was interesting, and said a lot of interesting things. So I like their podcast. I'm not a fan of their news show. I think it goes on a little too long, and Tom's delivery just puts me to sleep.
Well,
sorry, but okay. This was good.
They do several types of videos for their channel. I like the ones that are the straight news, and I do watch those. I do fast forward.
They give you a lot of information,
it
is just to me boring.
They give you a lot of information on the parks. Mickey Views is very, very good.
Oh, there's a new cupcake at Animal Kingdom, and blah, blah, blah. And then the Harmony of the Seas has a new character. Yeah. I mean, I'm just like, oh my God. Now, Mickey Views is way better. He doesn't do as much. I wish Braden did more, but it's at least wakes me up a little bit.
Mickey Views doesn't do a lot of news. He does like a breaking big story. He doesn't do little things.
He doesn't do like a weekly show like they do.
I watch WDW's news shows. They do shows where they play games and stuff. I don't watch those. I watch the ones where they do news, and I'll see on the thumbnail, that's interesting, and I'll fast forward through the video to the chapters, because each chapter tells you what they're talking about then. And I'll skip through most of it because I really don't care about the new Express Pass rules at Disneyland Paris or something. But I do watch every week, and I do like their news program. One thing they did, they were a couple years back, they reported something that everyone said was false.
Yeah, and they addressed that.
And they addressed that in that. I'm not going to play that clip, but I'll tell you about it because it was a long explanation. They had reported that Country Bears was being shut down and rethemed. And everyone said it didn't happen, obviously. And everyone was saying, WDW News, they make news up.
They've been accused of that more than once, that they make up news for fake controversy for clicks.
I don't agree with. I've never seen that. And they did say on this episode that with the Country Bears shutdown, that they actually have concept art and things like this that are available, that what they were going to retheme it to. So
I'd like to see it.
But anyway, okay. So this next clip, now this is amazing. This next clip is Tom and Eric talking about how the different Disney vloggers feel about one another.
Yeah, this was surprising to me.
This is a good one. They first start, since they are primarily Disney World, they start talking about Disneyland and not YouTube but TikTok. But this was towards the beginning of their episode, and they were just revving up to start really unloading. So then they start talking about the Disney World here in Florida YouTubers and such. So listen to this. This is. Ooh. When I heard this, I was like, "Oh, this is awesome! I can't wait to hear the rest of this 143-minute long show of Tom and Eric just unloading."
Yeah, they
and even the influencers. I would say someone like us, more news focused. Yeah, we're in the parks every day, and we'll get to that. We have a lot of questions about this, but also I think there's a brand of influencer, if I'm going to use the word, that. They're in the parks a lot, but really the parks are a backdrop for them to showcase themselves, right? It's more about their more personality driven. They're not driven by news. They are. I hate to use the word creator, right? Because everybody's creating. Just because you're documenting your life experience doesn't make you more creative than someone else. But those people are out there too. There's room for all of them, but most of them hate each other.
Yep.
And we could talk about that a little bit. I
think people asked about that.
People asked about that a lot. I will tell you, I don't use TikTok a lot, but I'm aware that Disneyland is crazy. Those people all at each other's throats 24/7. Here, I think it's a little more subdued, a little behind the scenes.
Here, it's a quiet hatred. Everyone just quietly dislikes each other in Florida. And we'll talk about why. Why do we think that's a thing, right?
Okay. So they said that everyone...
That was shocking to me.
Everyone, which means all the influencers, all the YouTubers in Orlando at Walt Disney World, have a quiet hatred of each other. None of them like each other.
And in Disneyland, it's just outwardly. I don't know if in Disneyland they all hate each other, but they all hate Best Life and Beyond. I think we can be clear on that.
No one likes
So I think all their hatred's geared towards them, because I think some of the Disneyland seem to get along, I think, more than here. Because there's more collaborations out there from what I see. But they all hate Best Life and Beyond.
Here in Orlando, at Walt Disney World, there used to be a lot of collabing.
Yeah, there's not as many.
There's hardly any anymore. And it's probably because, according to WDW News Today, Tom is reporting that they all hate each other quietly.
Did he say why they quietly hate each other?
You can pick up some of it. I think mainly it's the... If you go through most of, not all, because there's some like Pagey Mr. Morrow, who Tom also has a problem with. We're going to get. I didn't think any. We'll get to that in a minute. But
Tom has a problem with a lot of them.
Pagey Mr. Morrow, and there's a handful that are doing very well. But I think overall the views for Disney YouTubers is down. And part of the reason that is you only have so much of an audience, and there's too many at this point.
And there's not as much going on as there used to be before COVID. I don't know. It seems like they're struggling for new, don't you think, for new stuff?
No, I think there's a limited audience for Disney now, more so than even during the COVID period, because there's a recession going on.
True.
And a lot of people are struggling, and I think a lot of people really don't enjoy watching people whose life is a vacation.
Bad. Yeah, that's true.
So if you're struggling and you can't afford to take your kids or your family to Disney, do you really want to watch JoJo or someone like that whose entire life is a vacation?
Well, you're not going to let your kids watch it because they're going to want you to take them there.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're not going to allow that on the TV.
Exactly. You don't want your kids to see that because you can't afford to go.
Do you think they said all the vloggers hate each other? I don't know if I agree with that.
I think most of them do because of the competition for the views.
Okay, but he says he doesn't watch any of them or pay attention, but he knows this. How does he know they all hate each other if he's so far above it and doesn't pay attention to any of their channels? And he says he only watches videos when a fan sends him a link.
Give me a break.
But he knows they all hate each other. So he's either lying, he's either mistaken, or he's spot on. But I do agree with Eric. Eric said that a lot of the creators and influencers are at Disney, and it's more about their personality. JoJo and Kyle, it's no longer about the park, and it becomes more about them. And I agree with that, and I don't watch those people anymore because I think they're obnoxious, and I think they've lost sight of why they're there. Now, Tim Tracker's the biggest vlogger, and I don't get that feeling from him. I know his home vlogs are annoying to me and all that. I don't like that. But when he's at the park, and his vlogs are just as good as they were. He doesn't really focus on himself. It's a lot of good park content.
Well,
same with Molly. She's good too.
What I imagine is they all the regular vloggers, and this is probably when Tom encounters them, although they had an encounter off property, which we're going to get into one of these sound bites, which is opening up a big mystery we're going to get to here. But they're in line for these events, right? Like he was talking about how
he's witnessing this at the park, is what he's saying.
They're in line. Like one of the things they talked about on this podcast was how they were all in line to see the new Figment meet and greet. So they go to all these events. They're in line together for hours all the time, so they know each other over the years.
So he can pick up in a queue that they hate each other's guts. Well, what are they telling each other to F off? I mean, I don't get where he's getting this from.
When you go to the queues all the time for the opening of different things or the newest cookie, you get to know each other after you've been doing this for 8 years.
I like when they were making fun of the fact that all these adults were in line for a cupcake. And he said, it's really ridiculous. And he's right. It is ridiculous when you think about it. All these grown-ups there in line.
Yeah.
Like we saw a video at Trader Joe's had a new drink or something. And every vlogger was there. Paging Mr. Morrow, super enthused.
That was when Trader Joe's reopened.
Trader Joe's reopened. They were all there. In fact, there were no regular patrons pretty much. It was all vloggers, Instagram people. And it was a regular night. It wasn't a media event. And it's kind of ridiculous when you think about it, but I don't mind. I mean, that's what they do. But you know what, though, and there's Kathy, a market for it, so why the hell not?
When Trader Joe's reopened and everyone was there, and they were all—
that was pretty funny.
And it was first thing in the morning. It was like for breakfast or something, or an early lunch it opened up for. And it's at the Polynesian. If you're
I've never even been there.
No.
We have to go there.
I'd never even been there. I had never even heard of Trader Joe's, but it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Trader Joe's is inside the Polynesian.
Yeah, I've been to the Polynesian, but I've never been there.
And if you watch any of the vlogs from this was a year, 2 years ago. It was a couple years back. And you saw in line, it was all the YouTubers that you heard of. And they all were just raving about how great the food was. And it was just so spectacular. They're so excited, Trader Joe's. Except one. And I've met them at the park, and I can't remember the name of their channel. You know the guy that wears the Mickey Mouse ears?
Well, that could be.
No. The guy that wears the Mickey Mouse ears, him and his girlfriend, they were at the Moana opening recently we watched.
Theme Park Express.
Yeah, Theme Park Express. Okay.
I think they're engaged now.
Yeah. So, and I've met them at the park. And
they're funny.
They're very nice and funny. So every YouTuber is at the opening of Trader Joe's, right?
I remember this.
JoJo, Kyle, Prince Charming, Dev, a whole bunch of people I don't recognize. The WDW couple, Theme Park Express, and all of them are. And I was watching the different vlogs.
Oh my god!
And they're all like, "Oh, this is the best scrambled eggs I've ever had." They're all, "This is the most wonderful sausages." And then Theme Park Express, he asks his girlfriend, "How'd you like the food? How was it?" She says, "Eh."
She is the best.
And I thought that was hilarious.
She is so unimpressed by all this. I love it.
That was hilarious. So if you can,
that was hilarious.
Yeah.
She's very unimpressed. I like them.
Yeah. So Tom says that all the Disney YouTubers silently hate one another.
Quietly. I like that quiet hatred. So tell us what you guys think. Do you think that's true? Of course, they'll tell you outwardly that's not true. I think there's a competition, but I think it's a healthy competition. And I'm sure they have their favorites and they have people they don't like. I will say this. People I've noticed that used to collab together, like Corey used to always be with Josh. I never see them together anymore.
Who's Corey?
Corey Meets World.
Oh, Corey Meets World, yes.
He was with Josh all the time.
Constantly.
With Resort TV 1. I never see them together. In fact, Josh's whole entourage is gone. He used to have Arjons and that other kid that vlogs.
Lake Buena Visitors?
Well, we all know what that was about. But he had that one kid whose parents own that travel company.
That's right.
And he was always with them. Now Josh is by himself most of the time, or with Jenna or their parents, and that's it. I wonder what they had a whole Donna. She's gone. They had a whole crew of people that would vlog, that would live stream. I just don't see that as much. Jackie, she was always collabing. Maybe now that she's reached that top level, she doesn't bother anymore. But it just doesn't seem like there's as much collaboration as there used to be. So maybe there is something to that.
And that's true. There's some other vloggers that aren't as well known, like that crazy Disney lady who we watch, and we know her.
She's pretty well known.
She used to have a crew too. She used to have Tom Does Disney with her all the time. I haven't seen Tom Does Disney with that crazy Disney lady and I can't read years, it seems.
Yeah.
And also used to have, what's the other?
Living in Diz.
Living in Diz used to be with them.
Well, she used to go to, and I'm not sure if she still does, but she would all the time go to that restaurant at the Grand Floridian, Gasparilla's, I think it's called, all the time at the end of her streams with a whole bunch of people. Now, I do watch her live streams. Sometimes she has improved the quality of her live streams, so I started watching them again because before it was just unwatchable. But now her stream is very good, very good. So definitely check out that crazy Disney lady. Her picture quality is much better. But I don't know if she still does that.
The collaborations have almost totally ceased, and the reason that is because there's so many live streamers, so many YouTubers, so many vloggers, and there's only so much of an audience, so they don't want to share their audience.
I remember I was watching Ron on the Go once, and Josh. Sometimes I'll flip back and forth because sometimes they stream at the same time, and they were both at the Piano Guy
on Main Street,
and I'd never seen Josh film the Piano Guy before, so it was kind of weird. And they were both at the Piano Guy across from each other, streaming in each other's.
We were flipping.
It was so weird.
We were flipping back to their channels so we could, and we would put on
it was
Ron on the Go and see Josh. We'd switch over to Resort TV 1 and see Ron on the Go.
It was almost like a game of chicken in a way. But I loved it. I love both those channels.
Funny.
I think they're both awesome. But it was kind of funny. But I'd like to know what you guys think. If you think, like I said, I don't know if there's hatred or if it's just a competitive feeling.
Well, Kathy,
competition.
Every view on a video is money. And
That's right.
If there's some new kid on the block and they're taking views away from you, that means your
it used to
money's
be
down.
A really tight-knit community of a handful of people. And now, and we're part of this too, I guess you can say, now it's like exploded. And it's oversaturated, and there's so many, and it's. I mean, there's vloggers and people we've never even heard of that are out there. I mean, I'll find a channel, they have 50,000 subs. I'm like, who the hell is this guy?
So this next clip, okay. So this is
we got some good clips.
This next clip, and again, I'm going through these clips pretty much in the order that they came on through the episode. So far, they've been in order.
We'll link the episode in the description.
Absolutely.
It's definitely worth watching.
Absolutely. Not that you need us to know about WDW News
of course
Today.
not.
They have over 200,000.
Exactly.
So anyway, this next clip, Tom and Eric, they're talking about what we're talking about right now. Are there too many, and we've talked about this many times, are there too many YouTubers at Walt Disney World? Listen to this.
There is an influx of more bloggers and vloggers. I've never seen more gimbals and cameras and things ever. I can't really look down on it because I have to do it sometimes too as part of my job.
Remy said, well, yeah, anyone can cook. That doesn't mean that anyone should, right?
Oh.
And so anyone can do this. That doesn't mean that everybody should. And I think that's the problem. Sometimes is I think there is an overabundance and there's too many people. And I think too many people try to just emulate what other people are doing, right? I think the reason WDWNT exists is because we saw something that no one else was doing. And what no one else was doing was posting news from Disney World every day.
Okay, a couple things here. One, I will say they were talking and then Tom said, there's this quote I want. And he spent a little bit of time looking up the Remy quote. I cut out the part where he was looking for the Remy quote for time. So he didn't just have a Remy quote at the top of his head like that. But just because everyone can doesn't mean everyone should. And we're doing and people are just copying others. Again, I'm a fan of WDW News Today when they do their news shows. As I say, Kathy's not, but I am. But they've got this desk and set up to look like a news broadcast from the 80s on the evening news. So they're emulating what others have done. They have and so far
they have not blazed any trails.
No,
despite what he wants you to think. You're right. He even compares himself to a national news person, or Eric does.
What they're doing is not unique.
No,
and
not at all.
And I'll tell you.
Well, they want to make it seem like they were the first, and everybody's copying them.
Well, before there was YouTube, people were doing YouTube news. I'm sorry, people were doing YouTube news. Before YouTube, that doesn't make sense. Before YouTube, people were doing Disney news. I'll give you an example. Okay. And Kathy and I are a little older than some of these people, but we're not old. I mean, we're old compared to some of you.
We're middle-aged.
I'm 52.
I'm 53.
Yeah. So we're 52 and 53. And we've been going to Disney all our lives. First time
since the early 70s.
As close, almost. First time I went, the park was. I was born the year the park opened. Okay,
Yeah.
And the first time I went to Disney was in 1976, and Kathy
1974.
Went, 74.
I was 4 years old.
And I didn't live in Florida then. Kathy did.
And I used to go all the time when I was a kid, like camping, and a couple times.
There's all kinds of news reporting on Disney throughout all this time. And they may be one of the originators on YouTube, but they're not the originators of Disney news. There were always entertainment shows covering Disney, and they were not all corporate Disney sponsored events that were doing the news. Like I was telling about the opening of Epcot with all the local news around the country. So no, they're not the first. It may be the first that are doing it every day on YouTube or something. Or
I
one
just
of the
got
first.
a sense, and I don't know Tom too well. Like I said, I don't really watch his channel, but I will watch their podcast. I got a sense that feels he's above everybody else
A little bit.
Better than, and I don't think I'm better than anybody. I might rip on people and rag on people a little bit, but I don't think I'm better than anyone or that I've blazed some trail that people are copying me, and shame on them. I just got a feeling that he sees himself as a real journalist and he's legit, and everybody else is illegitimate, but he's the real deal, but everybody else sucks. And that's kind of how, because he was the first, or he's got a degree in journalism or this and that. He's a bit of a snob. I will say that. And that's fine. That's his thing. We rip people too, but I don't think I'm better than anybody or think that anybody's copying me or even though we did do a podcast first. So maybe they're copying us. Maybe we blaze that trail with podcasting Disney, and now they're doing it. So,
I don't know.
Maybe we can say that.
So the next clip is they talk about Adam the Woo, and this clip about Adam the Woo gives us also a little bit of mystery. Let's listen.
Adam the Woo, who's another, I probably don't need to say who this is, but, Adam has a very successful channel, been around a long time. Really one of the few very nice, kind people, I think, in the community that no one has anything bad to say about.
So Tom just said that Adam the Woo is one of the few nice people in the whole Disney influencer YouTube community.
Yeah, everybody else is an asshole.
Pretty much.
Except him and Adam.
Pretty much.
Oh, my goodness.
What the heck?
This is too good. You got some good sound bites off this.
Goodness.
Oh my goodness gracious!
That's insane.
Yeah, he's one of the few. And you met a lot of vloggers. Everybody you've met's been. Have you met one vlogger that was a jerk? And you've met quite a few.
No, they've all been nice when I've met them. I've never met any that was rude
But apparently he doesn't watch anything or hang out with these people. But yet he knows who's nice, who's not nice. He knows everything about their channel, but he doesn't watch them or hang out with them or know them.
It's an interesting thing because
sense.
And I'm going to take Tom at his word because
I'm not.
He does encounter all the YouTubers. And
not according to him. He doesn't associate with these people.
At the events. Because they go to opening day of everything. They're not on the media list, but they go to the opening day of everything.
You have a clip of him. They really don't like the Disney food blog.
No, they don't. We're going to get to that in a few minutes.
I thought was very interesting.
That's coming up.
Everybody watches the Disney food blog guide. I think they're a great channel.
They
were one of the first channels we started watching. They're polished. Now, I don't like all your stuff.
You know what he called them? You know what Tom referred to the Disney food blog as? The gateway drug. He said because they're so big, people interested in Disney find that. And then they find everybody else. But
what's wrong with that?
But he says some things. We'll get to this in a little bit because I'm doing this in order. Tom from WDW News Today says some things about the Disney food blog that I could not believe.
He really doesn't like them.
Oh, no. You'll hear it all in just a few minutes.
Maybe because their videos are better.
Now, the next portion, even though he claimed earlier not to know the name of Florida resident edits.
Right. He doesn't know anybody, but he knows everything.
The next clip is him talking about a video that Florida Resident Edits put out, and it involves Pagey Mr. Morrow.
Okay? Oh, yes.
Who's one of the most beloved.
Absolutely.
And that's an interesting thing because I've not met Nate from Pagey Mr. Morrow. We did interview his former wife.
Veronica. We know Veronica.
His ex-wife. We interviewed her on the show.
Yeah.
And it was a good interview. You guys should listen to that interview we did with Pagey Mr. Morrow's wife. She was brutally honest about their marriage and everything and divorce.
It's one of our
I was
podcasts
in shock.
a few years ago. Yeah,
I introduced her as the YouTuber formerly known as Mrs. Pagey Mr. Morrow.
Their funniest vlog and was when they went to the Goodwill and had to pick clothes for each other to wear to the park.
That was great.
Bride and I were just in stitches laughing.
They picked the ugliest clothes for each other to wear. It was
hilarious.
That was a great thing.
It was one of the funniest vlogs I've ever seen.
Yeah, and now Nate's a fashion model.
Exactly, for Roosevelt's.
For Roosevelt's in publication. So anyway, so Tom, who earlier couldn't recall the name of Florida Resident Edits.
He doesn't watch anybody.
He's got another example from another video of Florida Resident Edits that apparently someone sent the link to him. And it's about paging Mr. Morrow. And it's hard to know which video this is because there are so many videos from paging Mr. Morrow about incidents like this.
Yes.
I mean, I think most people get this. There are some people that just think that they are the show, right? I'm here to be the show, and this is who I am. And to the Florida Resident Edits video you're talking about, I know this group of people by the end of this vlog that they're filming is singing at full volume on a monorail full of guests and doing all kinds of things that they're getting criticized for by these people. Not to defend Florida Resident Edits. No, maybe they're nice people. It's definitely mean enterprise. But it is funny.
Yeah. Florida Resident Edits thing, like, look, there's some episodes that are particularly mean. There's some like the Mr. Morrow one where they were, all kind of drinking around the resorts and being loud on the monorail, where I sit there and I'm like, there's no real argument, right? Yeah. Like, if I'm Mr. Morrow, I don't know that I have an argument against that because you could see people are annoyed in the background. Like, I don't know.
Okay. So Florida Residents has done several videos, many, maybe more than several, videos of different vloggers drunk. And paging Mr. Morrow teams up usually with the WDW couple and Promise Hope.
Well, they used to. I don't know if they still do. And they do the bar crawl.
They like to do bar crawls. They like to do the monorail bar crawl at the different resorts. And then they like to do it on the Skyliner, too.
I don't find that entertaining, but I don't drink, so maybe that's why.
And, one thing...
It's not entertaining to me.
One thing about Florida Resident Edits, that there's two things that Florida Resident Edits highlights that I very much agree with them on are terrible things for vloggers to do. One of them is being drunk on camera, and there's a lot of that. I mean, it's
never a good look.
There's a lot of videos of different vloggers that are so intoxicated while they're vlogging, they can't even speak straight without slurring their words. And what's crazy about it is they didn't edit and upload it while they were drunk. Hopefully, they were sober at that point, and they still upload these videos. You
never know. Maybe they did edit it while they're drunk.
It's very bizarre. And the other thing Florida Resident Edits highlights about vloggers, and I agree with this, is people showing themselves eating and talking with food in their mouth while they're doing food reviews.
I think that's gross.
I don't like to watch people eat.
No, we fast forward through that.
And I don't like that at all.
In fact, we stopped watching some vloggers that do it constantly. I'm not into the food vlogs, and I know WDW couple used to do that a lot. And Veronica told me that there was this was a long time ago, though, that there was a person who would pay for all their meals and be at the table with them because they loved their food reviews. They had like a sugar daddy, and he would pay for all their expensive. Now, this is per Veronica. He would pay for all their meals so they would make vlogs on them. And he was there at the table with them all the time. Now, remember, she used to know them really well. They used to all hang out together, her and Nate and Taylor and Josh. So whatever, that's fine. She wasn't like criticizing them. She was just letting me know, oh, by the way, I said, oh, that's interesting. There's nothing wrong with that. If you have somebody who wants to take, I personally wouldn't do it. I like to pay for my own food.
Yeah.
But there, that kind of stuff does go on. But, I don't like watching people eat. I didn't watch a lot of those vlogs when they did the food ones, and they were doing them all the time. But that's just not my thing. I don't like to watch people. And Edits likes to. In fact, if I was a vlogger because of Edits, I would never put food in my mouth.
No.
Because he likes to show them putting the food in, and then he goes in reverse. Oh. And it's disgusting.
It is.
I don't know why Jen and Tim still eat on camera. I know they're aware of Edits because they've tried to stop Edits.
Yeah.
A lot of the WW couple and other ones have tried to stop him, and with legal action. I know that for a fact. I don't know about legal action.
I think they've filed copyright claims.
No, copyright claims, but he Edits, whoever it is, has put things online about them trying to stop him or her, and I would not put food in my mouth if I was a vlogger anymore because of Edits, and maybe that's stupid, But I think it's gross what he does. And I wouldn't want somebody doing that to me.
Anytime there's a new Florida resident edits video, it comes up on my feed. I watch it right away.
Everybody does.
Right away. You know?
I will say this. I agree with Tom and Eric. Some of his or hers videos are very mean, and I just think they go too far. And I think they're bullying. He's bullying people, and I don't like it. But most of them are funny. I mean, Michael K. used to give him a lot of material. And I think he or she edits is completely responsible for Michael K. going off camera and vlogging less and less. I think edits kind of ruined it for Michael K. And he is no longer on camera now because I think of edits, because I think edits made fun of him so much. And like I said, he did give edits a lot of material, but there were some times when edits, I think, would go a little too far.
Yeah,
and be a little mean-spirited, but most of the time they're in good fun.
Oh yeah, I watched them all. Okay, so this next clip, this is Tom and Eric. Now this is a big mystery here. Okay, Eric and then Tom backs it up with an experience he's had. They describe a very strange incident.
Oh yes, this is
with a Disney YouTuber. And this is pretty bizarre. This one really shocked me. They don't tell us who the YouTuber is, but it can only be a handful of people.
Right.
And
we were trying to figure it out.
And we know it's a male. So I'm going to play this clip, and you can let us know in the comments, who do you think the Disney YouTuber that they're referencing here? This blew my mind when I heard this one. I couldn't believe this one. Listen to this.
Occupation. Most of us listening would love to try it, but what are the hidden downfalls? That was from Kyle Murray, one of our WIGS members. I will tell you, they don't like each other.
They don't.
I don't know why.
Okay, now again, he's talking about the vloggers here that don't like each other.
Yeah.
Most of us listening would love to try it, but what are the hidden downfalls? That was from Kyle Murray, one of our WIGS members. I will tell you, they don't like each other.
They don't.
I don't know why. I haven't. I was at a bar near my home not that long ago.
Okay, now this is interesting because this is not a bar at Disney. This is a bar off Disney property he's talking about that this happened.
Downfalls. That was from Kyle Murray, one of our WIGS members. I will tell you, they don't like each other.
They don't.
I don't know why. I haven't. I was at a bar near my home not that long ago. And keep in mind, I don't watch other people's content. I don't have that kind of time. I probably shouldn't say this in front of Tom. I don't even watch our content a lot of the time.
There's too much here.
Maybe we wouldn't have released accidentally an episode of News Today with Tom dropping an F-bomb or some of these other things that I probably should watch before I hit publish, right? Oh, yeah, or the Mike Wazowski moments.
Because the show's got to get out.
Editing problems happen and it's late at night, whatever. Yeah. So I recognize this person as a vlogger who has a growing channel that's gotten pretty big, and I've never watched this person's content. And this person sat at a bar near my house glaring at me for like 30 minutes to the point like other people around me are like, who is that dude? And I'm like, oh, that's... And I don't... Why is he looking at you? I was like, I don't know. I've never met this person in my life. I don't know these people, right? I don't know these people. But with the idea on my own, but it's not a hard idea to arrive at. It's not a stretch to believe that other people could come to that same idea for content immediately.
Okay, now right there was a discussion they had, and they talked about this bar incident and a part that was pretty far apart from one another. So I cut out some talk about other things because Eric goes back to the bar story.
Okay.
Who has a growing channel that's gotten pretty big, and I've never watched this person's content. And this person sat at a bar near my house glaring at me for like 30 minutes to the point like other people around me are like, who is that dude? And I'm like, oh, that's... And I don't... Why is he looking at you? I was like, I don't know. I've never met this person in my life. I don't know these people, right? I don't know these people. But with the idea on my own, but it's not a hard idea to arrive at. It's not a stretch to believe that other people could come to that same idea for content immediately. Yeah. I'm not claiming that people are stealing the idea for that from me. But all the comments are like, hey, you're the one person that actually did it. And they named some names of people. And I think I said, I responded. I was like, oh, whatever. Yeah. I didn't say anything bad about this person. But that could be the only thing close to an interaction with that person I had until they just sat there glaring at me in a bar. Like the kind of glaring that's not like a curious glaring, the kind of glaring like, I want this guy to look.
No, and the person you've mentioned before has done it to me, and I can tell you I have never said a word about them. I didn't even know who they were until you told me. And I'm not going to mention them now because I fear for, my safety, honestly, given the weird public glaring.
Okay. So let us know in the comments.
Oh my God!
Who is the male vlogger that Tom is fearful that if he says their name, his safety will be endangered? And where I did that little clip because they went on another direction, and it was a long conversation. He had an idea. I think it had something to do with doing a vlog on the Disney Genie when it was new. And
well, it's not Adam the Woo.
No.
So
it's somebody that lives in Orlando.
It's not a live streamer. It's a vlogger. They said. There's only a few I could think of, but I don't know why he'd be afraid. I mean, that's a bit much.
He fears his safety, for his safety, Tom.
Give me a break.
Who could? Well, let us know in the comments who you think. I have a couple of ideas. I'm not going to say.
I wish they would have said.
Because I don't know. They know. And they didn't say.
You guys tell us who you think. Who would look menacingly at Tom or Eric in a bar?
In a bar.
And glare them down.
Yeah.
Do you think that they're making that up, or do you think it really happened?
No, I think it really happened. I think it really happened, yeah.
Maybe they were just thinking, who is this person? I mean, have you ever gone somewhere and you see somebody at a restaurant and you're like, I know this guy from somewhere, and you end up staring at him and you don't realize? Maybe it was just something innocent.
Well, they both had separate experiences with the same person.
How convenient.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, where's this bar where all these Disney YouTubers hang out at alone?
That's off property.
Well, you know what I'm talking about? What bar is that?
I mean, there's a lot of bars in Orlando.
It's a sad life. The vlogger bar. I've heard of cop bars.
I sense
biker bars, and there's a vlogger bar.
I sense a theme of alcoholism going on here with these vloggers. Lots of drinking happening, and these are people with no children and no real jobs, so they party a lot
for the most part. Yeah. So let us know in the comments who you think this menacing YouTuber is that they're both fearful of. Now,
I think I'm not going to say, but I think who I would guess.
There's two guys that I have in mind.
His name starts with the same letter as me.
No, okay. Yeah.
As my name.
Okay.
But I could be wrong, but that's just, I could see that happening.
Okay. So the next clip is Tom and Eric talking about the Disney food blog.
Oh, yes.
They hate the Disney food
This was
blog.
A really good episode. You guys need to watch their podcast. It's really good.
This is amazing. This next clip, we
had a great time listening to it.
Just to give you a little context, Disney Food Blog, also the same company that owns them, owns allears.net. It's the same owners of both YouTube channels. And they actually say that the Disney Food Blog is unethical.
Yes, they do.
And they view them as their competition because they also do Disney news and information, so they view them as their competition. And I got to tell you,
would you view them as their competition?
No, Disney Food Blog is very corporate and high end. It looks like no, they're not on the same level.
No, I agree with that.
No,
totally.
They're not
I don't
on the same level.
Who would you view as WDWNT if they had competition? Who would you view as their type of competition? Like if people are into Disney news and they have a choice, WDWNT or who would you think is their like at their level?
The Disney Food Blog, while a lot of their videos are dated because it's about what's going on in Disney this year or this month, a lot of them are what the YouTubers call evergreen videos, where they're good forever too. There's a lot of that there.
But can you name a channel that's similar to WDWNT that would be their competition?
No, there's a few people that do news, that I know of, right?
I would think Mickey Views.
Mickey Views is a breaking news channel. He does big stuff.
What's the one with that English guy I can't stand? Jack, what's his channel?
Is that Mickey Sightings?
No, it's
I can't remember Jack the English guy.
Yeah.
He did a really ridiculous video at Moana. He
remember he
went to the opening of Moana, and I've not been there yet.
I'm not a fan of his.
But he went around like it was he's a grown man with a child. He just had a baby born, and I watch his channel too. I watch everyone's channel, guys. Okay.
Oh, I didn't know he got married.
Yeah, he's married. He's got a baby, and he went around like a big splash pad, jumping and playing all the water games. It looked kind of ridiculous.
I remember he was on somebody's vlog, and he apologized for being an a-hole. I can't remember. What was that? He said, "I'm really sorry. I was a jerk."
Well, I saw him on someone.
It was weird.
I saw him on a live stream. And
that was it. Yeah.
This was a few years ago, and I'm pretty sure it was Resort TV 1 because there really wasn't anyone else live streaming then.
Yes, and it was at the gondolas.
And he was kind of rude. He was kind of rude on the live stream.
He was very rude.
Might have been Passport to the Parks, who's no longer around, making videos.
Happened.
But he was a little rude on it. But I cannot remember his channel to save my life.
No, I don't like him at all. I
like him. I watch his.
I know you watch his. I don't. In fact, when you turn out, I go in the other room.
But the Disney news channels, I don't view any of them as competition. They're both very, very different.
There's not a lot of them really.
The DFB guide is like a travel magazine.
Yeah, I don't see them as news because they really focus in on a specific topic. And it's very glossy.
That's where I go if I'm going to Disney and I'm vacation planning. WDW News Today,
right? It's different.
Is just daily news. It's not like vacation planning. And
no, they don't really tell you anything that you plan your vacation around as much.
Mickey Views does very high end videos, very few videos, and like he just and a lot of drones and stuff going on.
Oh, his are very high quality stuff. I mean. He's one of my favorite channels, Braden, and you could tell he puts a lot of time into his videos. So what do they say about the DFB food guide?
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, there's more than one
DFB guide. I'm sorry.
They're going to mention the DFB guide more than once in this.
He's got a real thing for them.
But this is the first clip where they mention the Disney food blog, otherwise known as the DFB guide. And Tom says they're unethical. Listen to this.
Just gets better and better.
They're unethical. DFB guys unethical.
Oh my goodness. Listen.
The best thing that could happen to us is to not be on that media list. Yeah. A lot of people think like, they're just burned because they're not on a media list. I think that our mission aligns a lot better with not being on a media list because we're free. We can say
we don't have to be unethical, right? I mean, I think it's extraordinarily unethical, number one, that you have to say certain things to be on a media list, number one. And number two, like, I know, like, in the case of Disney Food Blog, we know for a fact, like, it was well documented that they would get food, photograph it, and throw it away. We have...
Wait,
he's Gabby. Really upset.
Wait, it gets worse. Listen. They take... Let me tell you, Kathy, I am laughing so hard now. I'm like having this surreal experience. So
oh my God.
Not only that, they've got proof that they throw the food away. They've got proof that let me rewind it.
It's so ridiculous.
They've got proof that they throw the food away. Listen.
This is funnier the second time around.
Oh my goodness.
The first time I heard it.
Kathy, this is my third time. I watched it with you, then I had to go through it today to get the clips, and now I'm hearing it again. So this is my third time. I haven't laughed that hard in a long time.
Yeah,
listen.
Number one, and number two, like, I know, like, in the case of Disney Food Blog, we know for a fact, like, it was well documented that they would get food, photograph it, and throw it away. We have video documentation of it happening.
What are they following them around? I mean, what are people? I don't think. Oh my goodness!
First of all, Disney Food Blog Guide. They show a lot of food. Okay, they can't eat it all.
No,
and they really just show the food to show you what they have. I don't think they really give a lot of food reviews all the time. Maybe they do, but
oh my goodness,
he's got some really high standards.
Kathy, they've got video evidence that they throw the food away.
Oh my God.
It was well documented that they would get food, photograph it, and throw it away. We have video documentation of it happening where they just weren't even trying the food. They just threw it out. And they've gotten a little better over time, but it's still to the point where they can't be 100% honest about the food. If they don't like something, there are certain words and phrases they have to use, stuff like that. That seems really disingenuous. That just seems like not a great idea.
Okay, so they're liars too.
He's saying that they're towing the corporate party line. That that he is basically saying that they are saying what Disney is telling them to say. That they're lying to their honest. Viewers. like they are because they're not on the media list. So they're allowed to be on. And there is some truth to that. Obviously, there are people like Michael K., Dev, that have been taken off the media list for various reasons. But I don't think it was anything to do with Disney. It was things that happened in their personal life or on their vlogs. But he's saying that if you're on the media list, you can't be honest. And there is some truth to that. When you're on the media list, you want to stay on that list and because you get invited to things. And they're not going to keep you on it if you trash them. So not being on it does give you a bit of freedom. But I think his outrage is a little over the top with this. I mean, I don't, if they want to buy the food and throw it out, just get a nice picture.
Well, okay.
I mean, it's a waste. I would much rather them see them give it to somebody in the park, like a kid. Here, you can have this instead of, but that's on them.
Okay. I don't think that's that big
about
the thing with the food. First off,
it's kind of funny.
The food at Walt Disney World sucks.
Exactly.
The food at Walt Disney World
is not awful anyway.
And Disney Food Blog, because I do watch their channel. I watch everybody, guys.
We're not afraid to admit it. Like this guy who doesn't want to admit that he watches everyone, yet he talks about them in depth and at length with great detail.
Yeah. Disney Food Blog doesn't talk too much about the food. It's more about what it looks like and where you can get it.
Exactly.
Sometimes they'll talk about how something tastes, but very rarely.
Right.
And Disney food is at Walt Disney World is so bad.
It's all bad.
The only thing interesting about it is the way it looks and the atmosphere and where you're eating it.
It's overpriced. Some of the stuff's good, but the food is overpriced.
You don't go to Disney World for the food.
And we usually eat off property. It's overpriced. Yeah. It's not that great.
I'll tell you, if I'm there with our daughter on more than one occasion when we were really hungry and wanted to eat lunch, we'll drive and go to Chipotle or something and then come back. The food is just not good.
A lot of people eat before they go to the park.
That's right.
Or grab the McDonald's on the way in. There's a McDonald's right by Animal Kingdom. And then go in, save yourself a few $100s and just eat off property. You're not missing anything.
No, you're not. Okay, so the next clip is, this is Tom and Eric.
Yes.
Taking issue with people who are into the vlogger business.
I don't know why that girl was even there on the show. I mean, they hardly let her talk.
She's their Tokyo correspondent.
I got you.
No, she talked. I just don't have clips with her. She didn't really.
Okay.
She talked a little bit.
I watched it. She didn't talk that much.
She didn't contribute too much to this stuff, but she was more just there. But this next clip, they're talking about how the issue they have with people that make Disney-related content for money. Listen.
Yes.
Websites I could name right now were just WDWNT ripoff.
I mean, everybody have their
sites
strengths.
because it's a business, right? As opposed to WDWNT, which was started by people not to make money. It was started because we loved doing it.
And look at us now.
And it was, it's true. It was a volunteer enterprise for 8 years. And then we woke up one day and we're like, there's some money. Maybe this can be a thing. Okay. But I think there's something to be said when it comes from a place of that kind of, and don't get me wrong, there are other big entities in this community that started that way, and that's great. But I think I take particular offense to the people that got in this community with, one of two other thoughts, which was, oh, look, other people are making money doing this. Maybe I can. And the other thought is like, oh, other people get attention doing this. Maybe I can get that attention. And that's if those are the things driving you to be a part of this, I think you're in it for the wrong reasons, and I think you shouldn't be here. And I don't really care who that rubs the wrong way.
Wow. Well, that's Tommy's pretty upset. Listen. Most people that probably work at Disney and actually work for the company are probably doing it for the money more than, I want to be at Disney World. People got to eat and make a living.
Yeah, I remember when I was in high school, I worked at the mall, and I always loved going to the mall. But when I got a job at the mall, I hated the mall. I never went in my free time. It kind of ruined it for me. And I think people that work at Disney, I think most of them go there because they love it and they love Disney. But I think after 6 months, they're like, I've had it. I hate it here. But they still work there because it's a job, and they probably get some good perks with it. But he seems to have, like I said, setting a very high bar. I personally don't think there's anything wrong with finding a market or a niche and capitalizing on that. This is America. Yeah. And I don't think you have to maybe you just love making money or love.
Well, you have to make money, Kathy.
Or love being financially independent and love being your own boss. And you might be like, look, I can go to Disney and vlog, and I can make some really good money here and have fun at the same time. I mean, it might not be their whole life, but, I don't know too much about Tom. He just seems a little high and mighty.
We used to do this for free. Well, okay.
Yeah, I mean, like his motives are pure and everybody else's are evil. That's kind of the impression. That's where he's coming from.
Unless you're born with a trust fund, you've got to earn a living. And if someone says, if someone is interested in being an influencer or making YouTube videos, and they say, "Oh, you know what? I can make money doing Disney YouTube," but maybe they like football better, but they can't make money on the football.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that.
It doesn't make you
unethical or a bad person.
Unethical or less of a person. I don't know why is it so bad to make money.
You still have to put out content that people are interested in watching it enough to allow you to make a living doing it.
He's just saying that they are there for genuine love. They're above money. And that they are the most trustworthy. I mean, he's just very full of himself, it seems.
And listen, WDW News Today put out very good content. They did a series for the 50th anniversary that is a beautiful series and one of the best series of YouTube videos anyone has ever created. They did a video. They did, not a video. They did a series of videos going through every year of Walt Disney World and what changed each year.
Oh, I did see that. That was good.
From opening day until the last one. And, having gone there since the early days in 76 and Kathy in 75, I watched all those videos. And not only are they amazing, it brought back a lot of memories and it allowed me to put a lot of context into my blurry childhood memories of what was there when I first went. And
because you do forget.
And then when I went back, what did I, do and all that stuff. So,
but you get the feeling that he feels he's better than everybody else.
There's
that feeling.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people. One thing that's. How many people have moved to Orlando just to be YouTubers at Disney World?
We know a couple personally.
It's really amazing. But this idea that we're pure and we're better and we're not in this for the money, and we talk a lot about Rick's Flicks, who had a monopoly on Universal for years, and now he's got some carpetbaggers who moved into town from Tennessee, the Pew 2, who are putting out very high level production quality content that he's competing with.
Yep.
And that's just the way it is. I'm sorry.
Anytime you do something,
but Walt Disney made the parks for everybody,
right? And anytime you do, anytime you do something and you're good at it and you make it look fun, other people are going to want to do it too, especially when they can.
Yeah.
And I know he likes to say just because you can doesn't mean you should. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that if you can do it and you want to do it, whatever your motivation is, you should do it and have fun. People can decide whether they want to watch it or not.
Well, Tom has problems with other people other than DFB Guide. He also doesn't really have a very high opinion of Inside the Magic. Now, Inside the Magic, I do know they make videos. I don't know if I've seen their videos, but I do go to their website. They do.
That's like a lot of Disney news. It's like a Disney news
site.
And
I didn't, when we were talking about this earlier, I'd forgotten about Inside the Magic. Inside the Magic is competition for WDW News Today. It's pretty much the same format. They've got a website.
They pull their news, the same stories and stuff like that.
Well, the stories are the stories. Right. I mean, listen, how much news out there is there that covers world news or political news in our country? You can't say, well, here at CBS, we were the first to be doing the political news in Washington, so no one else can come to Washington and cover the political news. You can't, but Inside the Magic, I do go to their website pretty regularly, and like WDW News Today, they have the news. So I would say that Inside the Magic and WDW News Today are comparable and are direct competitions of one another. And I think Tom believes that Inside the Magic has ripped off their whole.
Is that what he said?
That's the implication I get.
He thinks everybody's ripped off them off. That he was the first in everything, apparently.
He's the Neil Armstrong of Disney news.
I guess so.
Yes. Okay, here we go. Here's we're almost done, guys. We're almost to the end. Only have two more clips after this.
Thanks for hanging in with us.
Well, these were good. I mean, I know.
But I do appreciate everybody listening, and And I mean, this is definitely worth talking about.
Sure. The reason I'm sharing this is, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, this is the first honest inside look at the world of Disney influencers and YouTubers.
Well, I don't know if I'd say it's honest. I mean, I don't know if I agree with him. They all hate each other.
Yeah.
He sits there and says he doesn't know them or associate with them. Like I said before, then how the hell does he know how they really feel?
Good
he
point.
might stand in line with them, and that might be his perception. And I'm not saying he's wrong, but you can't say that you don't associate with these people or know them or even watch their content.
Yeah.
And then turn around and in the same breath say, but I know they all hate each other and I know every detail of all their I mean, he's contradicting himself a little bit here, and that's what I have a problem with. So I'd like to know what you guys think. Do you think the vloggers hate each other like Tom thinks? Or do you think he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about? Or is it a mix? I don't know. I'm more curious what the audience thinks than anything.
Yeah. Okay. So this is Tom talking about Inside the Magic, which is a website. So if you Google Inside the Magic, it'll come up.
Inside the Magic.
There's one I wasn't even going to name names. There's one that everybody watching knows has the worst headlines.
My favorite thing today was Inside the Magic. We had Gabrielle Rusin, who does some freelance stuff for us, used to write for the Orlando Sentinel for, God, I think she was there 20, 30 years, however long she was there. She looks over like police reports and stuff like that for us. And so we had the lawsuit that's filed for Peter Pan's flight. Yeah. I saw that Inside the Magic stole that story today, linked to a site that linked to us, but had no mention of us as the original source. Because I've on several occasions, the new owner who bought it from Ricky, I've had disagreements with where he literally wrote to me, he's like, "You do not own the news." I was like, "Yeah, but like, we're the ones that got the news."
Paid for the police report that you're...
No, not even the police report. It was another story where a source gave me like something from Paris and then he took it. I was like, "This hasn't been published anywhere but WDWNT. Can you put credit or remove the story?" And he just went, "You do not own the news," and blocked me.
Wow.
That was, he's a mental case. I hate to use that term.
When you're talking...
Wow. Let me tell you, if you watch the network news, and I know Tom thinks he's at their level.
Yeah.
They get all their news from the Daily Mail and other publications, and they don't credit them half the time. That's what the news does. They all pilfer off each other.
They're all plagiarists.
They read other blogs, other websites. Now, this is how it is in this digital world of media.
And they don't cite the source.
They don't always cite the source, and he's right. You don't own the news. And just because you might happen to be first to publish it, you have to expect that other people, he should be flattered. That other people are coming to him for information instead of being pissed off about it. I'd be like, wow, they're coming to us to get information from this. I mean, he's like all hurt because he didn't cite him or anything. Well, he's really into getting credit for things.
Tom said that he contacted Inside the Magic and asked them to remove the story if they wouldn't give them credit.
But Inside the Magic's the mental case, but this guy's calling and making threats.
Exactly.
Okay,
so here they are talking about they went back to the Disney food blog again. I guess it was on their mind.
You know, how they operate.
Yeah, they're just not genuine. We've always...
Hear that? The Disney food blog is not genuine.
Oh.
You know, how they operate.
Yeah, they're just not genuine. So, we've always had a problem with the people that aren't genuine in this community. And Food Blog, let's be honest about Disney Food Blog in all years. Entities that were built not by people that love Disney, but by people that saw an emerging business. Like, it is a business. It was a business from day one. And they're very good at it, don't get me wrong, but they also mislead people. People say, we write clickbait. I think Food Blog's titles are the worst kind of clickbait they give you.
Wow. So they mislead people. Now, this thing about money.
He's got a real, he's like Bernie Sanders who criticizes people that make money, but he has a beach house.
He has 5 houses.
He has like 5 homes on the beach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
A lake
gracious.
House.
Yeah.
A lake. Well, Walt Disney and his brother Roy were just amazing. I know most of you guys probably know this, but I've got that biography of Walt Disney is like thick as a Gutenberg Bible.
Yeah.
And it's a very good book. And Walt was the dreamer and Roy was the businessman, right? Roy was all about the bottom line and the money, and one was the dream. You can't all be dreamers.
Exactly.
And Disney Food Blog.
There is a business aspect to this, and I don't think there's anything wrong with tapping into something very marketable and making a living out of it. I'm sorry.
And Disney Food Blog Okay, I don't know if by sub count they're the biggest, but I think they probably are bigger than anyone when you look at all of their presence, their YouTube, their social media, et cetera. And also probably considered one of the more credible of the so-called news. Although I consider them more of a travel magazine channel, not news Disney food blog. But the fact that they're more corporate has a lot to do with why they're so big. Okay, so I wouldn't compare myself to them if I were them. I think they do a disservice. Okay, now here's the last clip, guys. I can hear some applause in the background. This is the last clip of their podcast I'm going to play.
When I first came in, I tried to be nice to everybody. Like, I tried to be real friendly. And people made it very clear that they didn't want to be friendly, that this was competition. And I was, to my credit, I was like, oh, this is competition? Okay, let's compete. And then I proceeded to compete with all of them. And they didn't like that very much.
Oh, my God. So Tom has no friends. Yeah. Other than Eric.
I think Tom's the one who hates everybody. Yeah. I think there's some projection going on here.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness gracious.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, I know we went a little long there, but I wanted to share all those clips. Those are what I consider to be – they talked about a lot of other things as well, and we will put the link to their full
it was really good
video in the description of this.
I hope they do more podcasts. And I hope they're just as interesting as this one because –
the other
one. Very enlightening.
That was the second episode. The first one, I can't even remember what it was about. It was not as interesting. But I'll tell you, I just want to say a couple things before we sign off. One, I want to commit. I'm a fan of the WDW News Today, as I've said throughout the vlog. Their news show, I do watch that, and I do enjoy it, and it gives me a lot of information that I would never know about with what's going on at Walt Disney, and I do enjoy their channel. Even though we're making fun of them because they're a little ridiculous and petty here, I would definitely give them credit for the raw honesty that they showed in this podcast. I mean, this was raw, unplugged,
it was very good,
honest.
Very entertaining.
Very entertaining and honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
whether you agree with them or not, it's their perspective. And they were honest they were forthright in their perspective.
Well, they're honest,
and you got to respect that. You might disagree with what they're saying or think that their perspective's off, but they didn't hold back.
It's their truth.
It's their truth.
Their truth.
And I respect that. Because we do that. We do that too. We tell you guys what we think about things. So I respect people that have the guts to do that.
And one question to you guys, I just want to end with this. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on all of these clips and everything we talked about. But in particular, who is the male YouTuber that was staring Eric down in the bar that Tom won't tell us who it is because he fears his safety will be in jeopardy if he says the name of this threatening Disney YouTuber? Who could they be talking about? Let us know in the comments. My name is Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. It's the Main Street Moments podcast. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we will talk to you next time.